What's up, you pencil neck geeks? Welcome to the world famous Comedy Store. This is the Store Horsemen podcast. This is your boy, the Darkitect, speaking. To my left, weirdly enough, the jabroni Josh Martin. What's up, man?
Oh, hey, guys. We have very exciting news, so let's move on for me.
We really do. And to your left, the golden pony, Tony Hinchcliffe. What's up, friend?
Yeah, that's right. We're back. Let's have some fun.
Absolutely. Lightning T jacket in full effect. And then the resident joker of the Swordsman podcast, Eddie Firth, the evil genius. What's up, man?
I'm glad you got the reference of this outfit today. It was certainly inspired by him. Good,
Absolutely.
Good time. I'm excited to talk to you guys and see how you're doing.
I'm very observant, and I observed a lot of wrestling over the past few days because I was in New York. And you know what? Before I get to the one of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs is Good Times, Bad Times.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get to the bad times, let's start with the good. You guys watch, because we haven't talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
SmackDown debuted on the Fox Network on Friday night, guys. Popped a huge number for the WWE in this era. 4 point what? You remember?
It's 4 point something.
Over
Yeah,
4
I
million
remember.
viewers, which they haven't done in a Raw reunion show, haven't done in a Raw 25, haven't done in any special show that they've done in the past couple years, but they fucking did it on a network audience. My initial thoughts were that, just the opening video, graphics, packaging, the stage, the pyro, the presentation, unbelievable, right? Can we all agree there?
Yeah.
The content, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Like, what was your sort of overall take on the show?
I made it to this one. This was an exciting one for me because I got to watch it. I was on the road. It just so happened that those shows were late that night, or I was in
Dallas,
Texas. So,
yeah.
like, the time change or whatever, it led to my favor of getting to catch the beginning of it. So, I had, like, the first 45 minutes I got to watch. And, man, wow. Even though as little as I like Becky Lynch and Baron Corbin, man, the way that they played that beginning with The Rock, they just had me. And I realized in that moment, and I think we've grazed upon this, but I don't think I've really said this, is that, wow, Baron Corbin, such a great heel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
If that was, and this is why it's so perfect, is because whether you haven't been watching, this is great for first-time fans. They brought them right in on a great thing because, boy, if you didn't know anything about Baron Corbin before that, perfect. You don't need to. You don't even need to know about Becky Lynch. You don't even need to know about The Rock.
No.
You just know that that's the cool guy. This chick seems cool, and wow, what an asshole. He's the king. Here's why he's a lame king. He played it so good. I found myself with those two huge superstars or whatever, you know what I mean, in the ring. I found myself staring at everything, no matter what camera angle they went to. I was locked in on Baron Corbin, playing heel perfectly, looking at just the right faces, not too much, not too little.
Yeah.
Believable in a situation that seems so over the top. Unbelievable. He's the dorky king interrupting the powerful woman. Like,
Right.
It's like unbelievable.
I went to WWEshop.com and was disappointed to see that there wasn't a King Corbin shirt yet.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I
They
thought-
pump out merch so fast now
Yeah.
that there's no King Corbin shirt actually hurt me. I can't believe I was ready to spend my dollars on a piece of Baron Corbin merchandise. We make fun of Johnny Scortis so much.
He called it.
But fuck him, because here's why. Okay? We were right, okay? Corbin was getting the wrong kind of heat, goddammit. I would have never thought that, hey, let's resurrect the king gimmick and give it to a guy. But he is, but the problem was he was directionless. He was just a guy, you know what I mean? Baron Corbin, what does that even mean? You know what I mean? How do you describe who Baron Corbin is? He's tall, he's bald, he's kind of a dick. You know what I mean? That's nothingness. King Corbin, you get it instantly.
With that Game of Thrones like cape and crown.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a Game of Thrones joke in there too, besides the Burger King on cracky.
And it says so much about who they put in that segment with The Rock. You know what I mean? It says everything about what they're going to do going forward, really. Josh, what did you think?
I thought you was upset because you couldn't get a Corbin STD shirt.
Oh, I know. Yeah, how about
Super tough
that?
guy.
Super tough dude.
Oh yeah, super
Dude.
tough dude.
Rock
That guy,
reminding
but-
people why he's the fucking man.
Yeah.
I mean, never ever gets rusty.
Yeah. And I mean, dude, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. There's this thing that happens when I watch great stuff like that by myself where I'm going to admit it. I'm a man. I was fucking doing this weird tearing up laughter thing that I do when magical stuff happens in wrestling. There's a few things that can do it. It's usually the Undertaker that does it if I'm like watching by myself or whatever. You know what I mean? If you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that fucking excitement that rolls over you. And man, I mean, he's just so undeniable. It's freaky.
It's unbelievable.
And I think we're some of the luckiest people in the world to have this guy that was a rock star that we knew of 20 years ago that now the world looks at like a super untouchable, mega fucking super perfect human star.
That's right.
And he's even more of that. So we get this new swagger that he has. I mean, he's just more untouchable than ever. He can do no wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
he was so good. Like, if you think to yourself, because you've been in front of large crowds, like you've done arenas before, right?
In the round, so it's basically like a ring, yeah.
And when you think about, because I'm a firm believer in the idea that practicing something, doing something over and over again is truly the only way to get good at it.
Absolutely.
So you immediately get better by doing it once, and if you do it 1,000 times, you're better. But then if you, like The Rock, when was the last time he was in front of an audience that big, and yet there wasn't a single ounce of rust on that? Like 20,000 people in the middle of Los Angeles in the Staples Center, and he was still just as crisp. His timing was on. He didn't rush anything. He knew exactly how to. He knew when to pass the ball to Becky for the testicles line, and and let her say it doesn't matter what you're doing, who you think or whatever it was. Like, so fucking good, and it makes me honestly, just like anybody else. You certainly get those moments where you're like, oh man, like we haven't had someone step up in that way like him, and then it was Cena, and now we're waiting for someone to come
there is
along.
one person that everybody agreed on.
We'll talk about that definitely later.
I'm just saying, if you make Jinder Mahal
oh god,
your king of the ring,
Gender Mahal.
you can make him
Gender
great
fluid
again.
Mahal.
You can make Jinder Mahal.
I
great
mean,
again.
and I listened to Jim Cornette's review of this episode of SmackDown, and he was just like, you know what? No wonder there was a massive decline in the wrestling business once this guy took off. Like, we lived in a time where The Rock was a regular character on WWE television, but guess who was the other guy? Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know what I mean?
Some might consider The Rock the lesser of the two.
Right.
He was certainly the lesser draw in the beginning, and in that comparison, one-on-one, Stone Cold edged him out. In fact, that WrestleMania 19 match was the only time The Rock ever beat Stone Cold at a WrestleMania. And that's the end of his career.
There's always the A guy, the B guy. Like, I don't, even at the height, I don't even think that Macho Man was necessarily 1A to Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
He was definitely B, but Rock Austin is definitely 1A.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they're interchangeable in that role depending on what the night is. You've never had that in wrestling, and can you have it again? Is it? You know what I mean? What
you could make an argument for Brett and Shawn, but it's on such a different level.
Yeah,
like it's not comparable to then. Like Hogan and Macho clearly outdrew and outdid Brett and Shawn in terms of their overall characters and draw, but they were certainly right there, and that was about a 1.5 or 2 year period anyway. But those two guys, Rock and Stone Cold, are just.
Certainly. Impressions from the rest of the show. There were two sort of debuts that happened.
Mm-hmm.
One, Tyson Fury, who was front row during the event, heavyweight champion of the world, boxer. He was on hand for the Braun Strowman match.
Brilliant. Unbelievable.
They get into a fucking scuffle.
What a special time we live in where, and I should have done the math on this. I should have seen something like this coming, but it's such a special time because boxing is so, I've been saying this for fucking years. Now I think everyone agrees with me. It's such a discombobulated sport in a massive panic.
Yeah.
Used to run the roost when it came to fighting.
Yeah.
And I mean, whoa. And it's such a special time that everything's so just wibbly wobbly that Tyson Fury can even do something like this. He's basically a free agent because there's barely any communication going on between all these boxing federations, and there's really you got to keep a guy. Why would you make rules? Why would you keep him from doing anything? It's just like free agenty now. And Tyson Fury, I mean, doesn't get much cooler or more interesting than that.
It felt special.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we're going to get to the big segment at the end, but that Tyson Fury moment also felt special and interesting.
And gets into and then continue. Well, first of all, let me just admit something here. I barely remember SmackDown from Friday, honestly.
Yeah.
But
A lot's happened since then.
because the show felt like it didn't really connect to anything. It felt like a pay-per-view. Like, it felt like a one-off. You know what I mean? Like, it
That's
wasn't...
interesting.
That's because that's in my mind. That's episode 1 to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's their first. They're treating this like a brand new audience. Like
Completely.
they're starting
So
from
there
scratch.
was something that they did. I felt like
they
was.
expect us to go along with that.
I felt like it was one of the best written and produced 2 hours of wrestling TV we've seen in a long time. And there's certain things that weren't totally connected to everything, but the one thing that they did that really drove it home for me was during that Seth Rollins and Shinsuke match.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins did his double dives to the outside, and Michael Cole enters in with some line along the lines of, he said something like, this is the kind of action you can expect to see from Seth Rollins. He's fast-paced and high action. And I was like, that's what you do for a new audience who's never seen this before. You're telling the story, and if we've seen it again, that line isn't old. It's not unheard of. It is a simple analysis of the situation, and it just tied into me. Like, everybody was on their A game. Everybody was on their P's and Q's, and it just worked for me so well. It's disjointed from a product overall, but every segment fed into the next one well. That tag team match with the Four Horsewomen was great. It's just
great match.
It was all put together so well. I think it was a great 2 hours of TV.
I'm just saying it in response to a lot of criticism I've read of that episode, where it's like it didn't seem like, you know, that great of like a pro wrestling show that it's like, yeah, but that was the intent. That show was crafted for, if you've never seen WWE before, but maybe you've heard of Tyson Fury, maybe you've definitely heard of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, you've definitely heard of Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
That's what the show was, and then you get impressed by all the
Either
other...
you know The Rock or you've been sleeping under one.
yeah.
Like a beautiful episode of Saturday Night's Main Event from back in the day.
Yeah.
Right.
Where it was on network TV. They knew they'd have the audience, so they made sure that the wrestling fans and the new people were equally pleased with entertainment.
And in a way, helped the long dead kayfabe in a lot of ways, where it's like, the whole thing is, oh, well, Fox wants to make it more sports-like, so who the fuck do you get involved? Fucking Tyson Fury, the heavyweight champion of the world in boxing. And then in the final segment, we have, I heard a lot of complaints about this too. We had the heavyweight championship match between Kofi Kingston and Brock Lesnar. Lesnar destroys him in seconds.
By the way, it could have been that and ended like that, and that would have been fine, in my opinion. So the people that think that, like, this has been a ticking time bomb for a long time. Kofi, with momentum, with energy, with all this, a boss is still a boss in real life. And clearly Brock is... I loved that. It surprised me that people, because I saw at that point, I'm going straight off Twitter. Refresh, next, latest. And the things that I was seeing, it's like, Brock wins in 6 seconds. Fucking get it. Got it. That's how UFC works. That's how you make a headline in the UFC. That fucking Masvidal that's fighting Nate Diaz in Madison Square Garden. I'm going there.
Yeah.
I'm taking a trip for that. And
no, I think you're absolutely right. It's like, look,
and Masvidal was a great fighter. I'm sorry to finish, but I want to finish this. Is he was a great fighter, but he wasn't at all a massive draw.
Yeah,
you got to realize, Diaz's return against fucking wasn't Pettis. Oh my God, who was it? Who did he just fight and beat? Who the fuck was it?
I don't know.
It's right here. I was at it. Diaz. Oh my God.
It wasn't Showtime Pettis?
Was it?
I think it was Showtime.
For some reason, I can't remember.
However, Nate returns.
This is just and that's how Masvidal got that, was from acing Ben Askren in literally 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff happens, and this made sense. Brock is the guy. I mean, this was great for Kofi. Look, it's amazing. It elevates Kofi. It elevates Kofi's in the same thing that fucking we saw happen to almost everybody, right? He got smashed.
Well, and it feels like that Goldberg-Lesnar match. Like, Lesnar got caught.
Yep.
Kofi came off with an offensive move, jumped, got caught, 1 F5. There is no... First off, I think Kofi's title reign has been better than Seth Rollins up to this point.
Yep.
I would agree
Anybody
with that.
who's been saying that Kofi's not booked well or this, I'm like, no. Kofi got stronger as it went. He made the title valuable. He approached it properly. He was brave like a hero should be. He approached it like a face. He fought. And one time he gets caught by the baddest man on the planet.
Yeah.
He's elevated. He's fine. He's not hurt by this. Seeing people like Daniel Bryan tweet that, oh, he deserved better or this. No. You're
Did
missing
he do that?
Daniel Bryan tweeted something along the lines of, it was one of my favorite Mania moments, and it was something like, I don't know if it was you deserved better or it was sad to see it end. It just was like,
That's weird.
I'm of two minds about it. I mean, I lean more towards it's fine. Look, there's never shame in losing to Brock Lesnar. Never. I mean, and also, again, Kofi did more in his title reign than any of us could have suspected or predicted.
It was great. And another thing is you got to realize that they have Kane in the back. You know, that's the reveal. So this helps that storyline. It helps the next story. Big, huge fucking...
And I can't wait to see the Kofi and Brock rematch where Kofi gets one of those AJ, Daniel Bryan, Finn Balor matches. Now he's chasing the title, and every time he gets kind of close, it looks good, and you don't know if that kick is going to take him out.
Kofi lasts 14 minutes with Brock Lesnar, and Brock squeaks out a victory. Cain Velasquez comes out. It's like, oh, well, I guess Kane could probably smash Brock Lesnar because, look, little... fucking
well, that was
jumpy
the idea.
Kofi
You have to reinforce.
Right. He's an unstoppable force. Exactly.
Brock
so
is.
But when you want that view on stuff that Kane can easily beat Brock because Kane beat Brock in the UFC.
I think they sold that. Absolutely, they sold
but
that.
I'm saying if you have a Kofi match that's like the Finn Balor match where hey, Finn might actually win this, have a match like that, and Brock gets fucking exhausted because he took more than what he thought it would take to beat a little guy named Kofi.
Again,
and then it would make that Brock escaping the ring from Kane mean a little bit more.
I think the opposite because if Brock
too.
is at his think of it as a video game. Brock is now at full energy, and if a full energy Brock is still backing down from somebody, then that person must be dangerous.
And if Brock's tired and gets attacked by Cain Velasquez, that makes Kane sort of heelish.
And here he was. It took one move to beat the so if you're brand new, you see this monster come in. The champion jumps onto his shoulders. He drops him on his face, and a great F5 taken by Kofi, by the way.
Of course.
Beautiful sell.
And it also sells the kids and all the new viewers and reminds us that anything can happen. And good luck with your Price is Right final predictions on things.
Kofi versus Brock at the Royal Rumble, when they go 14 minutes there and Kofi gets off two Thunder in Paradise and so close and here and Brock is selling on the move and then something that match is still waiting to happen and is still going to look great and we're still going to love.
And while reinforcing what the most exciting thing about wrestling is, which is the unpredictability, right? It's like Vince made, with that decision, made 70% of the children watching the show cry in about 6 seconds.
Yeah.
If that's how long was the match?
I think they officially clock it at 9 seconds.
9 seconds in. They thought fucking their little, they're wearing their little neon green shoestrings on their arms and now they're crying.
And I can't tell you who I thought looked bigger and better and more massive, whether it was Brock looking in tip-top shape or The Rock, whose arms were literally thicker than his own head. Because the two of them came ready to be on television.
The Rock is on the hottest juice right now. Clearly has the best steroids available in the world.
Rock raises that Rock arm at one point, and his bicep is next to his head. His arm is thicker than his head.
I'm telling you.
I'll tell you what. I mean, what made the segment was Lesnar, because people don't give credit to Brock for how good of a seller he is.
I disagree. Tony and I talk about that on a regular basis.
You guys,
thank you.
Jesus. Sweet. But I'm talking about in general, of course. Everyone's like, oh, Brock just destroys everybody. But when Brock sells, he's exceptional at it.
So great.
He he made you believe he was terrified of Cain Velasquez.
Yep.
Even though, like, you know, a lot of it has been, oh, well, the crowd reaction wasn't that great because they didn't realize who it was, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
The television audience got a great
Yep.
situation because
Yep.
the announcers were going insane, explaining what was going on. Kane looked great.
Paul
The
Heyman
chest
looked great.
was a little,
Sort of.
but then, let's see. But
Paul
look, that's
Heyman
the
was selling it well.
yeah, but
That's
Cain
the beautiful
Velasquez
thing about
can be
a
like,
badass fighter. Yeah.
he can be like, you know, Dick the Bruiser, you know what I mean, or you know, it's someone like that where it's like you don't have to be in shape. We know
It is.
you're a
It
shooter.
is fun to poke a little fun at him, though.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like the
I
whole.
thought that was
somebody-
Dominic at first.
it-
I was like, what the fuck? Why is Dominic bald now? Oh,
Did
shit.
somebody in our group be like, could he have done a push up or two?
That
Somebody
was me.
said, yeah,
that was me in
he
the group
coulda-
chat.
He could have left the knee brace.
Yeah.
Just
Well, he's injured.
that's
So
Those
that's-
guys always, those are the real ones. Like Brock's the only one that looks like a
Yeah.
fucking
Right. Looks like an animal.
tank.
yeah.
You know, it's very surreal being close to fighters and you look at their arms and you're like, that looks like Eddie Firth's arm to me.
Yeah,
it's
like
like
a
then
daddy.
you look up
Buggy
and he's
whip
got
arms.
Nate Diaz's head on him and it's like,
Right.
oh, okay. So that, wow. It just these black belts that
Yeah.
actually know how to fight fucking look like us.
Well, then also it's like, and also thank God that Kane's like been training lucha because if you watch the Tyson Fury punches that he was throwing at the end of Raw,
The ones that weren't hitting anyone.
everyone was in danger because he was letting them go.
Tyson was?
Yeah,
and everyone was falling a foot away from
yeah,
the punch to
everyone
make sure.
was in danger because he isn't He's not a worker yet. You know
And
what I mean?
shout out to those security guys. I know every single one of them, and it is
Dude.
not their fault. You guys did great work, but god damn.
Yeah, they had a pull apart brawl between him and Braun on Raw, and he was throwing some fucking haymakers.
Wait, was the punches being thrown between the hugging?
Oh yeah, of course,
Massive hugging.
lots of
A lot
hugging.
of hugging, mostly.
But I mean, look, Braun's already been punched by Brock Lesnar. He ain't trying to get punched by Tyson Fury. Trust me.
I'd like to go a little deeper on that Kane and Brock situation
Yeah.
as well, because I think something that I've heard plenty of criticism over the weekend. Things like we should spend more time developing the actual wrestlers. Why are we giving time to this UFC guy in a WWE ring? They're just making a ploy for mainstream attention. And I think that is absolutely the reason. And somebody, for instance, somebody like Kofi Kingston is instantly elevated because of the exposure that is brought. If you can get a segment that night on SportsCenter where Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar are facing off, it is only going to raise the tide on all the boats. It's going to draw more people into SmackDown and Raw. Tyson Fury is going to draw more people into Raw. And ultimately, the everyday wrestlers who are great workers and are in there every single week and are on the road, all of those gates are going to go up if you have the opportunity to draw people in with
and
a
there's
segment
a lot
like
of
that.
intrigue in where Kofi goes from here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think something that comes up on this show a lot is this person doesn't need the belt, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about having the belt for a long time and then not having the belt, and you don't need the belt because you just had it for a long time.
Do you know what was interesting to me? They said, what is it now? Brock is like a 5-time champion.
Yeah.
Think about how much he's been champion, and unlike anyone else, he's not losing and regaining. He's in the 5-time club.
Yeah.
Right? Randy Orton's at 10 or 11. Cena's got 15 or
Right.
16. Brock's got 5, and
Yeah.
yet all
Wonder
we
how
talk
many
about is
successful defenses he's had with that. Probably
not as
the
many
best.
as others.
But he's probably
Great.
got
There's
the
a
highest
big percentage,
ratio,
yeah.
right?
probably a great percentage.
It's
but
an there's got to
but
be a
he's that
website for
dominant
things like that. Wrestling
beast
stats.
of a champion.
the reason why he's only 5 is when he loses, he's gone for a fucking 6 months
Right,
to
right.
9
And he
months.
keeps it for nearly a year at a time. But I'm
We
of the
we
mind
always
that this
say that, but Brock's been around a lot for the last couple of years.
Yeah, he has.
He was
Yeah,
ever
but
since
before
he
that-
resigned. Ever since he resigned.
And you know what? This is part of the WWE's brilliant strategy. Is they say things like that. They put these things in the news. Brock doesn't have to do this. Brock doesn't have to do that. This way, every time you see Brock, you're like, whoa, this is fucking exciting. It does add an element to, ooh, this is a special episode. This is one of the ones Brock's on. But in all reality,
he's on at least twice a month for the most part.
at least.
Sometimes 3 times.
talk
He'll take
about
a
him
week
every week.
off.
Ever since he's resigned, he has been way more present. I
And
mean,
they were basically like, "Look, we don't need you at house shows, but if you can, we'll fly you out 4 times a
Yeah.
month. Can
Yeah.
you give us 4 days a month?"
Yeah.
Look.
Just walk around the back and hand this back to Paul Heyman when the camera goes.
Yeah.
He's going to hand you something. You say no and hand it back to him.
Hey Brock, how would you feel about beating up Ray's son? Okay.
Look, every mark bone in my body was appealed to heavily for Friday Night SmackDown. I was excited to see it, excited to be a part of it. They lied to us on who was gonna appear. Sting was not there. Austin was not there.
Taker was
Flair
not
was
there.
not there. Undertaker was not there.
I think it's
But-
a double fold. I think one, they recognized that what they had with Tyson Fury, Cain Velasquez, and The Rock was enough, and they could save people for other things. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a clause in one of those guys' contract. Let's say one of those three guys was like a major star and had a lot of agents, production companies, and movie things going on. I wouldn't be shocked if part of that contract had to do with how many other people were allowed on the show.
I don't know. I just don't advertise
Look,
it then.
there was
Is really
there was
the
a
point.
great story that there was a massive political debate about that WrestleMania 30 segment where The Rock, Stone Cold, and Hogan came out. And Stone Cold never said anything specific. All he said was, originally, that's not the order I was told I was coming out. But somebody else said they had a different idea of how it should go, and the next thing you know, The Rock comes out last.
We all know about pro wrestlers and their ego. You know what I mean? About,
Look,
and who's
Dwayne
gonna
thinks
go
it's a great
over and
idea,
who's
but it
not.
doesn't really work for The Rock.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
So
And I respect the idea of that. If you're...
again, just don't advertise it. It's not going to happen.
I
You
think
know
they
what
had to change last second. I think
You
it was
know.
a
They were
mistake.
all on the pre-show. They were on that like countdown to
Right,
SmackDown,
right.
the red carpet.
But it also
Um,
means that next week The Undertaker can show up, and the week after that Stone Cold, and the week
Yeah.
after, and you can still. To me, it
there's
means
no
they didn't-
no doubt that's exactly what they're going to do.
And they
They're
didn't
going to
waste
make
it all
every
in
one
one
of these
night.
episodes special. This one was The Rock's episode, and
Yeah.
obviously some great
But-
reveals of new storylines.
But I mean, you better start building up everything around it, because after a while you're gonna run out of that.
right.
Laws of diminishing returns, as we
Yeah.
keep talking about
Yeah.
on this show.
But I think if you get if you get Taker for 2 segments next week, and he does something, and the week after you get Stone Cold for 2 segments,
Right,
and you're-
Charlotte, something happens with Charlotte now that she's got a belt, and someone says something, and Ric Flair comes out. And
Yeah.
he's a referee, something crazy and chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, you'll figure it out. I mean, look, they're to talk about Edge maybe coming back.
Thank God Randy Orton and Rock aren't wrestling right now, because I heard that was a rumor for once.
That was a rumor for a little bit.
I'm
But we'll see
exhausted
what
by that
happens. But at
match.
the end of the day, what we've talked about forever is that WWE has a problem in building big stars. You know what I mean? And you need that for the future. You can't rely on these guys from the bygone era to constantly carry the product. It's just not their time anymore. Not when you have this kind of competition.
What I do like about SmackDown is having just a 2-person announce table.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
it's very fucking
Good God,
nice.
yes.
Makes
was
commenta-
it 2?
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
just
they had
Corey
done-
Graves and
Yeah.
They pulled Renee because
And,
originally
Renee's
no,
like
she
a special contributor. She's not on the
Oh.
table.
Wow.
But let me tell you, I tried to give the Raw announce team a chance. Hell in a Cell, boy, it was just painful listening to those motherfuckers. I mean, they're just green beans. They're absolute green beans. And Lawler's in his own fucking world. You know what I mean?
Lawler's done.
Yeah.
I would notice that
He's
too. I caught
really
I
bad.
caught some of Hell in the Cell,
He's
and
done.
boy, he's done. It's so sad.
Yeah.
I mean, usually it's weird because they pulled JR fast
Yeah.
and Lawler late. It just doesn't make
I
sense.
feel like he would do a better job if we just put Grill and JR podcast in his ear and he could talk to JR. I feel like he'd be just
But see,
better.
like, I don't really even enjoy JR on AEW necessarily. I get the sort of ironic joy of JR when he's commenting on the product he does a lot of times, like, and there's yet another suicide dive. You know what I mean? Like, he fucking gets into the booking so, like, I love it. But even him, it's just like, okay, maybe we're but I don't even think that he's bad. I don't think he
And
gives
who's
a
the guy
shit
in
about
Dreads that doesn't say anything that they have next to them just for which
Is that
thing did
Vic
I see that
Joseph?
on? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I just felt bad for that. I'm like, oh, there's nothing more. See, and this is like a big deal to me. Is like, there's nothing weirder than weird, bad racial pandering. Like, if you're gonna don't sit the guy at the table and he's not like he literally wasn't talking, or at
Yeah.
least when they would cut to them and they were talking, he wasn't talking, and he just. I mean,
Yeah,
but
that's-
meanwhile, they cut out to 3 people and he's sitting there. I'm like, what is going on?
That's not normal. A black guy not talking at a table.
True enough.
right.
Come on.
I mean, what do they have to put him in front of a movie?
He's just watching a movie on
And
his
welcome.
iPad, and he's going nuts.
I love that we've improved their announce team by making one watch a movie and a different listen to a
Yeah.
podcast, and automatically like, we'll get better
Yeah.
shit out of them.
They cut behind it and they look at those guys' monitors are wrestling, and his is just like Beetlejuice or something like that.
Oh boy.
It's just Friday.
But I mentioned the dirty word. Hell in a Cell 2019 went down.
Becky and Sasha had an awesome match. Becky
That's what you have to
Lynch
say
and
about
Sasha Banks had a phenomenally brutal and interesting. They did it in a different way. They had different ideas. The finish was fun. It felt competitive. You never really knew who was going to get the upper hand. They beat the shit out of each other. It was a brutal contest. It was. There wasn't a typical storyline set up within it in terms of it didn't pace itself in any particular way, but God, did they worked so hard. And that's a match where I looked at it and I was finally like, oh, wow, like that's a good Becky Lynch match that I can really get behind. Like, I enjoyed that match.
Who gives a fuck with that ending? No one gives a fuck.
Yeah, that's
the
truth.
problem with the match.
Surely.
With the ending of the show or the ending of their
ending
match?
of the show.
Okay, yes, I absolutely
Ending of
agree.
the show.
The ending of their match was badass. Although she didn't need to make her tap. If you do a fucking Beck-sploder off the top onto some chairs, just pin a motherfucker and get them the fuck out of there. But what a hellacious contest.
I'm with Josh.
I agree. I had to remind myself how good
no matter
that
how
match was.
good a show is,
every match on that show could have been some of the best matches ever.
no matter how
The
good a
ending
show
ruined
is,
Wait.
It's all about- wait a minute.
Hold on.
Hold on. What are you about to say?
Eric Rowan broke a pencil.
you stop. You stop. Stop that shit. No matter what comes before it, a show is predicated upon how good you feel when you leave that motherfucker. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, with that being said, what are you guys doing on November 23rd?
As of right now, it's a Saturday, right?
It is a
Saturday, November 23rd. As
Saturday,
of
November
now,
23rd.
Sure, it's the 23rd.
I think it's the 23rd.
As of now, I'm free.
I
guys
think
free?
I'm free.
What do you guys gonna check your calendar?
If I had work, I could take the day off, but I don't think there's anything.
because look,
My calendar just says jerk off on every day of November.
but that's
Wow.
that's no
Can you-
different than any other day.
Can
in
you
your
take the
calendar.
day off, or do you need to?
I still need to do it,
What you
but
got
I
in?
can.
What you got in your calendar there, Tony?
I have a special event.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a special event too.
Should we say what the hell's going on?
Well,
What can we
guys,
What are we
if you've been paying attention, like we told you about last week and the week before, you wanted to be dialed in to what's going on with us because November 23rd
Hello.
is fucking Storecade.
Whoa.
The first ever Storecade event happening here. World famous comedy store, home of the Store Horsemen podcast, home of wrestling legends like Andy Kaufman,
Yep.
like Roddy Piper, who's
Yep.
on the wall here.
Paid regular.
You know what I'm saying? We've seen guys come through here. We've seen Bret Hart come through here. We've seen Sergeant Slaughter come through here. We've seen Hacksaw Jim Duggan come through
Yep.
here. We've
Chris
had all
Jericho.
sorts of legends. Chris Jericho went to a strip club with Matt from here.
Yep.
So
The man himself, the Iron Sheik,
absolutely, we've been roasted here.
Bret the Hitman Hart.
I got forced to take a picture with Buff Bagwell here.
Me too. I got forced to take that same picture with him.
Buff Bagwell as well, yes. X-Pac.
Come
Dolph
on.
Ziggler.
You name it.
RVD.
RVD's done comedy here.
John Moxley's been in the basement with
Yes,
us.
he has.
Jimmy
Cabana.
Mouth of the South Hart.
But you know
Colt
what the
Cabana.
fuck we're going to do?
Chris Jericho.
For the
How could you
first-
top that, Chris?
for
How
the
could we top
first
that?
time in 30 years, over 30 years, there's going to be live wrestling right here at the world famous comedy store.
Wow.
We're going to move out the chairs in the main room.
In the main room.
There's gonna be a
on a
fucking-
Saturday afternoon.
wrestling ring in there on
An
a Saturday
actual
afternoon.
wrestling ring.
And some of the brightest stars
Yep.
in pro wrestling are going to fucking go at it in that ring.
So you've just told me that we're putting a wrestling ring inside the main room at the Comedy Store on
That's
Saturday, November
right.
23rd for Storecade. We're going to have live wrestling matches here
that's
for the first time
right.
since Andy Kaufman wrestled on that stage. Can you tell me anybody who's coming?
I can tell you a few. I can tell you that Enzo's going to be here.
How you doing?
I can tell you that Pentagon Jr. is going to be here.
Get the fuck
Wait,
out of
what?
here.
I'm going to tell you that Ray Phoenix is going to be here, the other Lucha brother.
Oh,
Holy shit.
my.
I can tell you that David Arquette, former WCW World Champion, is going to be here.
Wow.
I can tell you that fucking Brian Pillman Jr. is going to be here.
No way.
Seriously? The real
Come
Brian
on.
Pillman
The
Jr.?
real Brian Pillman Jr. And you know what? I'm going to stop there. I'm going to fucking tease the rest. You know what I'm saying? TBA, motherfuckers.
If that was it, this is one of those infomercials. If that was it, it's worth the value already. But wait, there's more.
Absolutely, there's more. Because
You
you know
just
what we're
gotta-
going to do before that?
What?
Storecade ain't just a fucking wrestling event. It's a whole day's worth of shit. Because before the wrestling event, we're going to be roasting one of the greatest pro wrestling legends of all time.
Wow.
And I'm not going to
This
tell you
is-
who yet.
this is
motherfuckers.
incredible.
That's what you call a tease right there. So there's going to be a fucking live roast featuring some of the brightest, best, brilliant roast comics in the world. Of course, the Golden Pony Tony Hinchlif's going to be involved. After that, live wrestling right here in the main room. What? Come on. I already told you. Enzo.
See, wait a second. Hold
ahead.
on. Let me get this right. You're
Go ahead.
telling me that on
Yes.
Saturday, November 23rd, live from the Comedy Store.
That's right.
We're going to be roasting a wrestling legend, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Of all
Someone
time.
that everyone knows and everyone is going to want to be there for in that limited space. Like, it's such an intimate venue with a wrestling ring.
Yeah.
This sounds
Yeah.
like only people that fucking heard about it first.
Yes.
And some of the most important people in town are going to be there.
That sounds about right.
So it's the roast of a legend and then live wrestling in that main room. I mean, I know that room
Yeah.
front to
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I used to have to turn on the lights in the dark and hit the fuse box. It's a church
Yeah.
of
It is
comedy.
a legendary space.
It's built
Mm-hmm.
for sound, for energy.
Yes.
And you're telling me there's going to be wrestling matches in that same room after a roast?
Yeah.
And that tickets are available for both of these things?
Oh, did I not mention that the tickets are available now that we scheduled that shit to be available right now? If you go to the fucking Hollywood.comedystore.com, you can get tickets to Storecade only right now.
Wait a second. This is hold
Oh my God, the chairman.
Hold on, right in your seats. This is, I feel threatened.
Do you want to buy us?
How much are you selling for?
I mean, you know, this
$1
package-
billion.
There you go. There you go. What's your budget?
I'm going to talk about this with my team of lawyers.
Well, you should because, goddamn it.
But
it's
I'll tell you what,
coming
I'm going to be there.
Are
I'm
you?
going to go.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
Exclusive. There it is. The chairman's going to be in the house for Storecade.
that's right.
It's
You should get your chair, man. ComedyStore.com. Blah, blah, blah.
That's right, goddammit. This is going to be a history-making event.
This will literally be the first time in history there's been a wrestling ring inside the
That's
Comedy Store
100%
with
right.
live wrestling. This is
100% right.
you can't miss the first. This is going to be historic. It feels on the level of something like Starcade or it's like Starcast
Yeah.
and things like that, where we're completely changing how people are going to take in wrestling.
And also, we, the Store Horsemen, will be doing the commentary during the matches.
That's
as well.
right.
Yep. Hello, we're on the stage.
That's
We'll
right.
be in the stage, live commentary, and shooting promos and shit too.
Amazing.
Tell
Amazing.
your friends. Spread the word.
I know a referee.
Someone might be a referee.
That's right.
I know
You
a
know?
referee if we
But
need one.
get your fucking tickets because guess what? If you think for a second as it gets closer, it's going to be not sold out, you're playing yourself. Don't play yourself. There's package tickets available where you can get tickets to the roast and the wrestling event, or you can get individual tickets. I highly recommend that you get the one that gets you both. But goddamn it, don't miss out on Storecade. November 23rd, right here at the world famous Comedy Store. Like I said, Hollywood.comedystore.com. Get your tickets. Get them now. Get them soon.
And if
Fuck
we
yeah.
announced who else who's the roast of, and if we announced some of the special things that are going to happen during the wrestling matches, then they would sell out immediately just off of internet buzz. This is a chance for the fans of the Store Horsemen to
Yes.
get the first dibs.
That's right.
Because
Get
once
the-
this thing
yeah.
blasts on social media, and then once it picks up, and once you find out more, and once you're there especially,
Get these
You're
tickets
go-
now. They're going they're going to sell out, and there's not going to be anything we can do. There's going to be limited space, and we want you all to be there. But there's nothing. If you message us when they're gone, they're already gone. That's it.
Yeah.
There's a capacity.
I
We
don't
have
know
a
how
wrestling
many
ring.
of you have been to the world famous Comedy Store and have been inside that main room. not a lot of seats as it is. If we put a wrestling ring in it,
We lose 100 seats just from the ring.
off
Yep.
rip. So
And especially
Get
you
down with it.
diehards. I mean, we've had a lot of amazing, always the funnest, coolest crowds
That's
of
right.
fans that
That's
have
right.
come to our.
sign guy, we need
Sign
you.
guy, of
That's
course.
Storcade.
Yeah,
All
sign
right.
guy, you better start drawing right now, bro.
Yeah.
You got to pay your dues if you want to get on that guest list.
I want to see all of the referee signs that you make, sign guy.
So there it is, and we thoroughly plan to send everyone at Storcade home happy. That was not necessarily the case at Hell in a Cell 2019.
Why you ending this episode with bad news now?
I'm about.
I don't
the
know if
roller
it's that
coaster.
bad. Let's hear.
Oh my
Let's
goodness.
hear everybody's takes, and then
Okay.
let's move forward.
What about the rest of the show? Like you said, the women's
Let's
Hell
go
in a Cell
straight to
match
the
was
good
real
shit.
great.
We don't care about the
You're
other
right.
shit.
You're right. But
Is there anything that
I
really
mean, they
stood
didn't.
out to you
It's
guys?
not like they gave a fuck. They announced 4 matches before the show started, so
Yeah.
and then gave us like 9 matches. Oh,
What else was there? There wasn't anything.
I mean,
else
Charlotte beat Bailey for the women's title.
Yeah.
She won.
Asuka and Kyrie are the new women's tag team champions.
Oh, yeah.
The
They
tag
brought the
team match
green
did what they
mist.
They
needed.
turned heel. Now they're spitting green mist at people like the
Great.
Feels
great
vaguely
Muda.
racist, but everyone seems happy about it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
The Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns tag team match with the. I mean, Rowan broke a pencil.
Oh, stop it!
I will
Again.
say this is again them combining Asuka with that chick is just goddamn embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like it's not good for either one of them, and they make her. She looked so dumb in this. Is she always a sailor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
She's
her
been-
thing?
She's a pirate.
She's a
princess.
pirate.
Whew, boy, that is just as lame as it gets, guys.
I
She
like-
should literally have any other character. Like when they cut back, they kept doing this thing where they would cut from Asuka's music to her music,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's
Oh,
just so
terrible.
lame.
It's so
Just
terrible.
Asuka just has this badass fucking energy. Just wow, wow, wow. Yeah, it's just so cool.
They do that.
And then it cuts to her. It's just bam, 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 bam,
They do that with all the tag teams, like Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. They do that, and like
All the tag teams
New-
that aren't actually tag
yeah,
teams.
new
they do it.
music or just one person's music, and
Right.
you can alternate between the two.
or
each
even
time,
weirdly
you know?
mash it up. Do anything, but don't take turns. It just feels so lame. And that's another one other thing I notice is like when I say, I mean Bailey is just at the tippity bottom of my fucking list.
That's
I
what
mean,
you said
just,
about Baron Corbin, though.
no, I didn't say
Bailey
that.
alone.
No,
He's
I didn't say
never-
that.
he's
Okay,
never
Corbin.
disliked anyone the way he seems to dislike Bailey.
I mean, it's just like here's the thing: is like she exposes some of the bad things about the sport that you don't want people. Like, let's just say I was trying to, convince Rogan that wrestling's cool, right? And we flip on that part, and it's her coming out, and she does that thing where she throws energy
Yeah.
at the crowd or whatever. Like, no,
Yeah.
don't do that ever again.
I think
Whatever you do, don't do that because no one's popping, and we know no one's popping, and you can feel no one. Everybody just stares at her when she does that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it works better now.
Did you
as a
see on this
heel.
one? I'm sorry again. I can't tell whether it was SmackDown or Hell in the Cell, but she came out and there's a little kid there, and she goes, "Are you ready for the inflatables?" And the kid's like, "Yeah, inflatables." And she goes, "Are you ready for the inflatables?" And the camera pans over, and the kid's basically just like,
Because she's a bad guy now.
She's working that in between. She's getting where
Lame.
she needs. The end of it with her throwing the tantrum there, saying, "Why does this always happen to me?" Yeah, we'll
Well,
get
that's
there.
kind of why I didn't want Sasha to lose, because it kind of takes all the venom out of her and Sasha as a unit. Now they've been vanquished by Charlotte and Becky already.
Yeah.
They just got started. But none of that fucking matters because,
I'm sorry. Before we go, I do like the Kyrie saying Asuka heel
yeah,
and them just speaking in Japanese now.
that's right.
I do like that. It's
I
a
like
very
that
heel
Quietly
move.
got rid of Paige because that made no sense as a manager.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon loves your opinion right now.
Asuka
Josh.
went bananas on Raw on Becky Lynch,
Yeah.
spit mist at her again. And if we get the fucking Joker face makeup Asuka
Yeah.
going forward, I'm all in for that. I'm all in for that feud. And then it works because, as we remember, throughout this entire man gimmick, Asuka's the only one who's beaten Becky one-on-one, tapped her the fuck out, in fact.
Yeah.
So,
Becky did a great job of bringing that up on Monday Night Raw.
yeah.
Good
"Let's do
story.
it.
So
Let's
it's
get
interesting.
into it."
But again, the main event is what everyone was fucking talking about, and that was a red lit. Just listen. From the onset, it's just like I can't see the match. The The cage is red. The lights are red. I can't see anything. I can't follow this. If you were in the fucking arena, how did you see any of the action?
They had an opinion about it. Clearly, they saw it.
100%
Clearly,
they
they
did.
saw it.
Because they started chanting for another promotion mostly through it. They started
chanted a
chanting
lot.
for refunds towards the end. They started chanting bullshit throughout. I mean, Tony, the Fiend character.
And by the way, that's what's a shame is that so much was done wrong, and for some weird reason, like it appears as though the Fiend has anything to do with what was bad about this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, crazy. Here they go. Here they're off and running. We
Yeah.
were planning for it. Here it is. Hell in a
We
cell.
did a
no
whole
better.
podcast where on very few times this has happened where we all are on the same mind that
Yeah.
it's too early to put the Fiend in a title match situation.
Yeah.
And so they did it, pulled the trigger,
Yeah.
didn't have a plan,
Yeah.
realized they wrote themselves into a corner.
So weird.
Oh shit, we can't put the belt on the Fiend, but we don't want Rollins to lose just yet.
And now in my
What do we
mind,
do?
they've really painted them. I think they were trying to get out of that corner, and I think that they think that maybe him moving on, right? Is that what they've insinuated? That didn't bother him? What did they do with Bray on Monday?
They didn't
Nothing.
put either one. They just
They
They
didn't
bring-
mention the match until about 2 hours and some change into Monday.
And it was
Night
a
Raw.
pre-done video package,
Yep.
Yeah.
so that the live audience didn't react to it.
Yep.
Wow.
And then they had the Fiend, I guess, attack Cesaro in the dark match at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
he
makes
didn't
sense.
appear on the show.
So
And apparently he's injured.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
apparently
yeah.
saw there. I don't know if it's kayfabe or not, but he's been reportedly injured.
But anyway,
yeah, that's fake.
They wrote
that's what
themselves-
they expected
yeah,
to
yeah,
happen.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
They-
one. They're trying to save themselves.
They wrote themselves into a corner.
He couldn't have gotten hurt in that match.
Their solution was to have the Fiend no sell. I mean, everything.
Which is fine.
Absolutely everything. Well, it's fine until you think about the psychology of he took 11 curb stomps. 11.
Fucking awesome.
And
That's
a
so
pedigree.
cool. Think about that.
And a pedigree. And he kicked out at one
Yeah.
on the 2 times
and
that
let
he
me
was
tell you
covered.
something. Let me tell you something. I can't tell you how much I love that.
No.
Oh my god, him kicking out at 1 is so much cooler than kicking out at 2. You would think like, oh, it's just a second earlier. It can't be that different. Unbelievably cool.
But Tony, we're talking about a man who put down Brock Lesnar with 3.
Mm-hmm.
He did 11 on the Fiend.
Yeah.
How does the Fiend? How is he ever beaten by anyone at this point? How? That makes any logical sense whatsoever. Because look, we talk about it all the time. It's pro wrestling. Ooh, you put logic into an illogical situation. But you still have to. You can't take me out of this situation. You know what I mean? Like, and that's all I kept thinking. It's like Brock lost at 3 of those. 3. Here's 11 and a pedigree. And he's not even remotely hurt. It was just like, wait, what am I watching?
He's not human though.
Yeah, that part's fine to me. I suspend disbelief with these guys, and that part's fine until that just builds it so that someone else.
But
you know what I mean?
who else? You know what I mean?
You
'Cause
know
then-
who else? You know who else?
But-
They've been
but the
getting ready for this
Undertaker-
Daniel Bryan reboot for a long time. They've been dilly dabbling with it. They're
I don't know. I don't think their opinion of Daniel Bryan is what you think it is.
really.
Yeah, if so, he
must
wouldn't have been what
hate
he's
money.
been in the last year. I think they hate Daniel's size no matter what happens, no matter how much support he gets. Lesnar, again, it's like you can't even really use Lesnar because it's like, well, Lesnar got beat by Seth Rollins, and this guy is impervious to pain. So I don't know. That doesn't even make sense on a logical standpoint. Undertaker was beaten by Brock. You know what I mean? It's like, so the guy who lost to Brock is going to beat the guy who can take way more punishment than Brock? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But I don't know, man.
My question for you: which match is worse, the Hell in a Cell match or the House of Horrors match?
Here's why it's the Hell in a Cell. Again, speaking of logic, here's what's okay with the referee. Okay? Ladder use, tools, being beaten with a hammer that is comically gigantic. I suspect it was the same hammer that was used to kill the rabbit in the Firefly Funhouse, right? He uses that multiple times. Everyone's okay. Everyone's fine. Sledgehammer, though, you're going way too motherfucking far.
So
Seth
look,
Rollins.
if you were going to make the case that one of the two matches, House of Horrors and Hell in a Cell, which one's worse? It's Hell in a Cell because House of Horrors was a poorly chosen gimmick. Right. They did the best they could with that.
And it was the first of the kind, and we didn't know the rules, and it wasn't established.
This was something where we think that the execution of what we already understand was poor. So the execution, the House of Horrors is a worse idea, but it was performed as competently as that match could have been. Yeah. This was a proven entity.
The commentators kept saying...
And they've never done worse. We've never had a worse Hell in the Cell.
Anything goes. They kept saying it all night throughout the pay-per-view. And anything goes inside Hell in a Cell.
Look,
because the whole build-up was, what is the Fiend going to do to you in an environment where there are no rules?
I was going to start this whole thing and say, I thought this match was perfect. And I was going to try to sell you guys that like I loved it and it was great.
I would have asked you to leave.
I'll be honest, I think that the first 8 or 9 minutes of the match were really good. And we discussed what the ending might be and how long it might go. Yeah. And if it ended at 9 minutes, I think we would have had the match one way or the other that we would have wanted. But as that match went
How
longer,
long did it go? It went long, right?
It went like 14 or 17 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I picked.
Yeah, I think it was 17 minutes at the end of it. 17 minutes. And the longer it went, the worse. Look, I was even in, I'll be honest, I was in on the red light. When they didn't move the red light, I was like, okay, this is going to be different, and he's going to beat the shit out of him, and it's going to be, we're seeing something new, and it's going to be off. Like, I was there.
With the red light, you can almost have blood, but not really knows that there's blood because you can't really see it.
That's what I thought it was. I thought it was a Tarantino Kill Bill situation. I can't show too much blood, so how do I get around this? Oh, I'll do it in black and white. Yeah. And I was like, oh, shit, this is about to get gory as fuck. That wasn't even the case.
Look, I think that the
clearly ketchup packets at the end.
The first, it might have been the first moment.
Wait, that was clearly ketchup packets.
Oh, you think he was spitting up blood from
I didn't watch
a
the
finger
match.
being?
I just read everything.
At the end of the match, once the match is all the way over and they're bringing the Fiend out on a fucking stretcher, which you shouldn't do to the goddamn Fiend. The Fiend gets up in mandible claws Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins starts to quote unquote bleed from the mouth.
But
the mandible claw, which has never made anybody internally bleed ever. So the red light I was in, the way they started, Bray did the thing that I love him to do the most as the Fiend, which is he grabbed Seth by the back of the neck, right? The scruff of the neck, he's pulling him back. Everything was working well. I thought even, like, once Seth got out of the ring and Fiend wouldn't let him back in, I'm like, this is playing great.
Yeah.
Then something after the 9-minute mark just started to break. I think that seeing the Fiend pull out the mallet, I was like, okay, this is dumb, but as long as he finishes this match in the next 3 minutes, we're good to go. And it just kept going. And then all of a sudden, it completely broke for me with those 11 or however many curb stomps in a row because, one, Seth didn't go to pin him after any of those curb stomps. Right. He just kept hitting him over and over again. Bray wasn't selling all the way up or all the way down. Like, either you're knocked out and he tries to pin you and you kick out at one. He gives you another. It's the same thing. Or no sell it all the way and stand the fuck up. Yep. Stand all the way up so that you are really no selling the move. So he needs to, because it just looked like he kept doing it over and over and it became.
Or reverse it some kind of way.
Seth wasn't taking his time. It was almost like curb stomp. All right, I know I'm going to do another one. Curb stomp. All right, I know I'm going to do it. And then the finish, the idea that you would stop for a sledgehammer, which has been used on television over and over, so you can hit him with a toolbox, and you're going to go no contest in this scenario. This was why I said last week, the Fiend should beat Seth in under 10 minutes and look dominant and get the fuck out of there with the belt. None of this bullshit, because this was the thing we were all afraid of, and I'll be honest, this felt like it killed off both characters and any momentum that was going forward with the Fiend to
I'll
me.
say this. The Fiend, Joaquin Phoenix to that shit. He had an incredible performance. And
up until that match, he didn't in that match.
I thought Bray was fine. You know what I mean? I thought
when he's just
Bray's
but the two things
okay.
he didn't do, the two things that I would criticize, the things that I did not like were the odd sells of those multiple curb stomps, which were unnecessary.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you know, the other place where it got really bad for me was he just laid there for about 3 minutes at one point. And Seth would pile something on and hit him, and he'd come over and do something else. But he didn't even move. The Fiend was just laying in the ring. And I was like, so now you're just taking a fucking break. Like, you're not actually selling. You're just laying there.
But look, he made the most of a situation that clearly he didn't have control. Up until, what have we been praising up to this point? Clearly Bray has been in control of the creative direction of what he's doing. He was clearly not in control this time around.
I think the problem with it started from the beginning. It should have never been the Fiend versus Seth Rollins.
Exactly.
It should have been Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins.
False.
Without the Fiend involved.
I don't
And then
like
you
that.
could build the Fiend like the Demon with Finn Balor. You can almost use that kind of where, like, you could give Bray Wyatt the loss.
Look, at this
Clean
point, anything
loss.
is better than what we got.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
That's better than what we got.
Yeah, and that
but
would have
I
been
don't-
an interesting twist if he came out as the Mr. Rogers version of himself. And it's like, wait, what the fuck is this about? You know what I mean? At least there's, like, questions, there's intrigue. This is just like, yeah, no, the Fiend can't lose right now.
And let me remind you of something else that's really cool. And maybe Bray, I'm sure Bray's thought of this, but maybe Vince is in on it, is that, remember when The Undertaker first came in? He was a lot more unstoppable, clearly, than he is now, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I think part of a good pitch from a guy as smart as Bray would be, let's start this fucking thing as unstoppable as we can. Really unstoppable, like obnoxiously over the top Undertaker. I'll kick out at one,
He
right?
beat Finn so
And
bad
then
he went
this
back
way-
to NXT.
In this way, since the Fiend's the Fiend and not Brock Lesnar and not, you know what I mean, he's not human, it makes more sense later on,
Yeah.
right? It makes it harder. We still have that element of Brock-like dominance with an Undertaker twist, but it makes more sense later on because I think Bray's going to be around for a really long time, obviously, and if you start him as scarily unstoppable, then it makes it more interesting as things go on and people can accomplish things against him.
And I think there was a way for him to not win the title and look unstoppable and have all those things, but the way they executed did none of those
Right.
things.
So
he didn't,
weird.
yeah.
And it's
he didn't look
clearly-
unstoppable. He didn't win. He didn't lose. He didn't do anything. It was just this weird. Again, after that 9-minute mark, they wrote a 9-minute match and they turned it into a 20-minute match, and
Yeah.
it just fell flat in every way
And-
we would have wanted.
And here's now the problem, is that they, like I said earlier, they thought they were writing themselves out of a corner, but I think they're really writing themselves in a corner because if they just move on and pretend like that never happened, that's going to fuck up the Fiend even more than if they fucking tried to fix this
It's
and
like
make
Eddie
it right.
said, they killed both characters in a while. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah,
now-
I don't think they killed the Fiend. I think Rollins
that's
looks
what
the lamest.
I think Bray's going to be okay,
Yeah.
but it's like definitely they rubbed some of the wilt off the rose,
Mm-hmm.
and then now they put Rollins in the position that they put Roman Reigns in, which is, this is the guy we want. No, we're going to go in this other direction.
But again,
and it made people boo Rollins like he was a fucking heel.
Like I would have loved Rollins coming back on Monday having lost the belt in 9 minutes and been like,
what the
did
fuck
you
was that? Yeah.
Red?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had no
Right.
And like I said, like even if you got a Bray Wyatt versus Seth Rollins and Seth beat Bray, and then all of a sudden Bray crawls underneath the ring,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden the Fiend comes out from underneath the ring with the lights coming out, then there's something you can build later on for
I
Rumble.
told you.
Towards Rumble time.
The ending I wanted was Bray to win that belt and then to rip it in half and throw it out into
would've
the
been cool.
garbage. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about that title. That's not what any of this is about. That's how you do that.
That would have been cool. But let me say this: did it rub a little bit off the what was your term?
The wilt off of the road.
It would be
Rubbed
the
a little
bloom
wilt
off
off
the
the
rose.
rose,
It would
but
be
at
the
the same
bloom.
time, perhaps it builds it up so that we think they might fuck with the Fiend and that they are going to go on the wrong path, and it now puts us on the path of misdirection and surprise when now he's a little bit injustice. Now he's the fucking Kofi or the Bailey or the Daniel
But Bray
Bryan or
handled
whatever.
it the right way. He tweeted
Yes.
a dude
Yes.
being like, oh, my bad.
Yep, he won everybody back with that shit. Like, what do you guys want me to do? And that's that. Yeah, we all agreed.
He's the
Too
guy.
soon for the belt. Could have had so much fun. Could have built that up. But I don't think that the only way they can fuck with the Fiend is by having him attack some lame-o out of nowhere.
Yeah.
on
Look, I don't
Thursday.
think he's dead all the way, but I think it was a moment where that's why I thought it was so important to give him the win dominantly and give him the belt, because if you have him in this spot, and again, I've been saying this early, like, it felt like there was this huge wave of momentum that we talked about it. People who don't even watch wrestling were taking snapshots of that character and being, what the fuck is this? And
Johnny was at SmackDown on Friday, and he said little kids in the audience were legit hiding when Bray showed
it
up.
felt like this lightning in a bottle moment that
Yeah.
doesn't come around very often. And if they pulled the trigger, they were going to ride a wave.
Yep.
And it felt like if you were surfing, the wave came and they were just like, whatever, we'll catch the next one. It's like, no, it doesn't come around like this. And in fact, instead of just not catching the wave, they fucking put a bomb under the ocean and blew the wave up so nobody could fucking ride on it.
Do you think this was corporate politics? Do you think that they're like, well, we can't have Bray win the Universal title because we're going to put him on SmackDown? Which is
I
where
think
Fox
it goes
wants him?
deeper but simpler than that. I think this was a Vince McMahon call. I think Vince saw it a different way. I think he came in and he said this and that. I don't think it has to do with Fox asking for this and them not being able to put a title on. I think Vince was just like, I'll show them what they want. This is what it is. It's
Funny you mentioned Vince
And then he
because
realized he
all
fucked up.
reports are that he laughed his ass off the entire time.
Those were initial reports, and
The
after
reaction.
that, apparently he's like, he took the blame, which he never does.
yeah,
He apparently took the blame, was like, I messed up. he
really.
said.
Yeah, it's true.
I was hoping you'd show up, Chairman. Talk to us.
I really fucked up this time. I'm crying. Human emotion. Achoo. Oh, disgusting. Anyway, sorry, everyone. My bad.
Oh, wow, a moment of humility from the Chairman. We appreciate it.
For being so awesome. Everything I do's for you idiots.
That's true.
You morons. Ever since you announced the new event coming November 23rd in Saturday afternoon at the Comedy Store. Storecade. Live.
Yes, indeed.
2 p.m. with a
Yes.
roast followed by some of the best wrestlers in the world that were available on that day.
Yeah, that's right.
Get tickets now.
Thank you, Chairman. He turned that into a commercial. That's genius, is what that is.
But he said, watch it, but not on the WWE network.
Certainly.
Motherfucker. Like, god damn it.
They
Like,
really-
you're wearing the bad dudes, that. They put the belt on Diesel in 8 seconds. You're telling me you couldn't let the Fiend fucking win?
Hey, that's a hell of a throwback right there.
God damn it. Go ahead.
Anything.
Hey, guys.
Oh, my God, Sister Abigail, we haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
You never do.
Yeah, that's true. You are a ghost.
You can just hear me
Yeah. How are you?
and feel me.
That's for sure.
The inside of my fucking dirty ghost mouth.
Much like Lana and Bobby Lashley on Monday Night Raw, which was
Better than
really
the Fiend
bizarre.
segment.
Yeah, I've been with Bobby Lashley before.
Really?
Yeah, more like Bobby Ashy.
Yeah, he's a really dark-skinned guy.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of ashes in my day, too.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was cremated.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Anyway, did someone say something about taking a belt off Diesel in 8 seconds?
No,
that was
Diesel
Eddie.
beat Bob Backlund in 8 seconds for the belt.
Yeah. Well, guess what?
What?
After that match, I took Bob Backlund to he was in the green room
Oh,
getting his ankles untaped.
okay.
And let's just say Bob Backlund is very easy access.
Is that right?
Yeah, no knee pads.
Right, true enough.
Just a little pair of red underwear.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. They were red after I was done with them.
Jesus Christ.
You want to know why?
Why was it so red?
Because I sucked his dick.
Oh, yeah, that's right. True enough.
And then
You sucked his chicken wing?
I put ketchup in my mouth and spit it out.
No,
They put me in a fake mandible claw. Yeah. So I sucked his dick again.
Oh, wow. Double tough. Double stuff.
Once you go Backlund, you always go Backlund. Anyway, talk to you guys soon.
Oh, good to hear from you,
I
sister.
also just want to make one quick announcement.
Oh, yeah, let me know.
Yeah. November 23rd,
Oh, my God.
the Comedy Store,
That's it?
afternoon,
Yes.
Saturday afternoon. Tickets available now. Come get your dick sucked.
Oh,
By
there's
me, Sister Abigail.
special added bonus. Hepatitis coming to everybody who comes down to Storecade.
Make sure you come hepatitis. See the show.
Hepatitis G for Ghost?
Yeah, you might come down with a case of Storecades.
Oh, my God.
I really have to. I would capitalize the word AIDS in that.
Yes, we get it.
If it was written.
I'm not sure if you can make that joke in West Hollywood.
Hey.
Heck yeah. Well, there you go. There's going to be a lot of
Yeah.
Super tough, dude. All right, back to you guys.
Well, there it is, guys. I haven't watched AEW yet tonight. Or
She is a
NXT.
dirty ghost whore.
dirty girls, the dirtiest, in fact.
What was that phrase again? The off the rose.
The wilt off the rose.
The bloom is off
It's
the
a
rose.
very-
Ooh,
it's the
gotta
It's not
get
the wilt.
another
It's the bloom
wilt
is off
off
the
the
rose. It is the wilt.
rose. on
It's the bloom is off
It's
the
the
rose
wilt off
because
the
a
rose.
rose blooms and then it starts to
Ooh,
wilt, so
gotta
the
get
bloom
a
is off the
All
rose.
I know is
Okay, okay. While we're calling
Something
people out for getting things right,
Yeah.
let's just remind everybody who called Cain Velasquez showing up on SmackDown on Friday
Come
night.
Tony?
on.
Everyone
We all,
called
we
that.
all knew what
Everyone
was going
called
on
it.
Who
there.
called that?
What are you talking
Everyone
about?
called it before you.
go
You
back and
called
you
it.
you go back and you listen to who the first person in this room to say his name was. Who was the first person in
Yeah,
this room to
because you
say
read
his
dirt
name?
sheets.
Who? I don't read
I mean,
dirt sheets.
also, it's just, it was,
What
Dirt
time do you think
sheet.
I have to read dirt sheets?
It was
Do
so-
I
you
sound
did-
like I read dirt
why
sheets?
would
do watch
Brock
The Good
throw Rey
Place.
Mysterio all around before
it
the
doesn't
biggest
matter.
event on
It does not
in
matter
WWE
who was the
history?
first person in this
Vince
room
laughed
to say
at
his
you
name.
for predicting
Who
that
was
story.
the first person
That-
in this room to
yeah,
say
yeah,
his
you
name?
said Kane, but Vince literally just started. He started mocking your simple prediction.
It doesn't matter. I predicted it. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can,
I mean-
you can cut it down all you want, but
It
if
was
you said
literally
it first,
the most
you say the
blaze-
same thing.
What do you
But it's
want?
not
You
about
want to
saying
win?
it first. If you have it written in a
No,
script
I want
at home,
I
that
want
doesn't
it,
mean
I want it.
I
I
got
want
mine
it
here.
on the record.
That's
No.
like saying The Rock was going to show up at that.
malarkey.
We didn't know that though. We didn't know Kane was showing up.
I mean, you kind of did.
Well, let me ask you one more time.
Go ahead.
Why would they have Brock throw around Rey Mysterio and his child for no reason?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right before the biggest event in their history. Why would they have the ultimate tough bad
This
guy
is
do
not-
that to a small
this is
Mexican
not
man?
what this is not what we're arguing. What we're arguing is you taking credit for it on the internet.
No, listen. First
Okay.
of all, it wasn't me. It was Vince.
Yeah, first of all, Chairman said that.
Second of all, we scooped the melts on that.
Yeah, we did.
And Vince even said before that, I believe, either that or I have it confused with something else.
No, he said exclusive scoop the milk.
And Vince doesn't scoop the melts on this show.
That's right.
He never does.
It's a rare thing where maybe
Yeah.
someone you know maybe is friends with or in some way has some connections to creative.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe,
Still
perhaps.
said it first, and it's also the bloom is off
Oh
the
my
rose.
God.
It's not the wilt off the rose.
Ooh, gotta get
They
the
don't just-
bloom back
They
off
don't
the
just-
rose. On.
We should have Seal on.
All I know is "wilt off the rose" is a very difficult phrase for me to say.
You ain't lying. You ain't whistling. this
Don't
shit,
worry,
brother.
Josh, because the phrase is the bloom is off the rose,
This
so you're
fucking guy.
fine.
It's still as difficult as the other one.
I like mine better. And just like I like Storecade better than anything else happening in the wrestling world right now, November 23rd, get your fucking tickets. They're on sale now. Make it happen, Cabin. Do not miss out on this. Don't get caught sleeping because, good Lord, it's going to be a good time.
Lord knows I won't get caught sleeping. I only sleep 3 hours a night.
Plug you in.
Well, maybe, Vince, if you fucking slept more, you wouldn't have ended Hell in a Cell that way, you goddamn idiot.
Who the fuck are you?
I just sit over here.
That's a guy who watches The Good Place.
What is this, Harvey Whipple boy?
Where can they find you in the meantime, Josh?
At Josh Martin Comic and all the things. November 10th, San Diego, Comedy Store. Me, Punky Johnson, Lucas Harrell, each doing 30-minute sets.
That's only 13 days before Storecade,
Yeah,
right here at
13
the world
days.
famous Comedy Store.
You know what? Go, just take yourself to San Diego. Come see me. Come see
Yes.
Lucas Harrell. Come see Punky Johnson, and then come our way. Hang out with us for
Yes.
2 weeks, and then Storecade.
There it is, Tony.
It's true. I'm a busy man, too. 6 weeks before Storecade, we're doing Sacramento and San Francisco Kill Tonys. That's
Yep.
Kill Tony Mania, our big annual event. That's pretty much sold out. And then 5 weeks before Storecade, I'm going to be in Australia doing massive Kill Tonys there. And then 3 weeks before Storecade at the Comedy Store, Saturday, November 23rd, I'm going to be in New York hanging out watching Diaz Masvidal.
Nice.
And then 2 weeks before Storecade, we're doing 6 shows in D.C. That's 2 Kill Tonys. 4 I'm headlining stand-up shows with the Kill Tony crew doing guest spots as well. And then we make our return the Sunday before Storecade. We are making our return to New York City. Another Kill Tony at the Gramercy Theater. Our third this year.
Amazing.
My favorite venue in New York for the third time this year. And then that's it. It's Storecade right there. My calendar says something about a hold for a city in Texas that I don't want to name, but my manager has been informed, and that should not be in my schedule. He has control of my schedule. They can access your schedules. You guys have this? Your managers, they just put shit in your...
Not yet.
Anyway, and then other fun stuff that I should actually be promoting instead of just shoving Storecade down your throat, since we already did. Yep, Rogan. And then we're doing Kill Tonys in Columbus, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, and our return to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania again for the second time this year.
There it is, Eddie.
Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at I am Eddie Firth and at Eddie Firth. This weekend, October 12th and 13th, historical roast and fictional roaster at LA Comic-Con. On Saturday at 3:30, we're roasting the Avengers and Thanos for fictional roast. So check that out before we come to a streaming platform near you. And then on Sunday, we're roasting Ted Bundy for historical roast. The Golden Pony is going to be there as well.
What day is that again?
This Sunday at 3 o'clock, room 403A. On Saturday, 403B.
This Sunday, the 13th.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I love how it sounded like he didn't know. But yeah, historical roast and fictional roast at LA Comic-Con.
What time is that again?
3 o'clock.
Tell the people what time that event is.
It's at 3 o'clock on Sunday, October 13th. Historical roast.
Give
Ted
them the
Bundy.
location again, why don't you?
Give me the address.
Room 4,
exact address.
the LA Convention Center, room 403A.
Is that true?
Yeah,
304A?
403A.
403A. Perfect.
Amazing.
And then October 30th, we're doing fictional roast horror movie mayhem. All your favorite horror movie characters like Pennywise, Freddy, Jason, the guy from Scream are all going to be here at the Comedy
Ghostface.
Store. Ghostface?
Yeah.
He's going to be here at the Comedy Store roasting each other, so make sure you come check that out October 30th. And then November 20th here at the Comedy Store is our 5-year anniversary show. Historical Roast turns 5 years old, 3 days before Storecade.
You beat me to it, my
Do they
man.
have that jack? Is there a jack over there? Is that right?
It doesn't.
Oh, I
work.
don't even have a jack.
But guess what? There's nothing that matters about me promoting right now other than fucking Storecade.
Yeah. Don't
November
be an idiot.
23rd.
You're going to feel so dumb if you're a
So
fan of this
stupid.
show and you fucked up. And, there's the whole point of this and it being live right now and us putting it out, having a quick turnaround is for you to have the very first opportunity. So.
That's right.
Once the rest of the wrestling community hears
Yep.
about this, PWG people,
Yep.
bar wrestling people, everybody's going to buy up these tickets. So if you're listening to us on this podcast now, go to the link and get the tickets.
There are literally only a few hundred available. This is a very exclusive. The whole cool thing about this amazing event is how exclusively you're gonna be able to see the fucking.
Everybody's
lot
going to
of
have
shit.
the best seat in the house for this wrestling event.
Fucking A. So do it. And don't forget, Store Horsemen are your hookup. Holla if you hear us.